Hey folks, I saw a video that I wanted to talk about. I'm not going to stitch it. I'm not going to really talk about like the creator or anything because it doesn't really matter because I don't want to share that part of it. I'm going to be critical of the video. Basically, it was just some background shit and some country music artist talking about how great America is, and it said, "I don't want to see it on text." It said, "I don't want to see any liberals celebrating freedom this Fourth of July because you've all complained too much about how it's being taken away from you." And I'm sure that the person that wrote that made that video, thought that that was some sort of like gotcha, right? Like, you're fucking, you complain about it too much. You don't get to celebrate it. Uh, to which I would say, well, first of all, well, that's fucking moronic. And second of all, it's funny to me because a lot of times, when we get caught up in our little echo chambers, people tend to forget that there are people in this country that genuinely believe that this country is as good as it can be. Like they've bought the propaganda, from the time that they were a child and they would show up to school and the teacher would, smack them on the back of the leg with the ruler if they didn't stand up straight and put their hand on their heart and all that stuff. And then they took that propaganda that was literally fed to them, like, on purpose, so that they would turn into what they are. They took that and they became this kind of like, to love your country you have to accept everything about it at all times. It doesn't matter how much it's hurting you, right? Like, we tend to forget that in our little, like, leftist liberal, progressive bubbles. We tend to forget that this is genuinely the worldview of people out there, that they believe that right now America, the make America great again thing, they believe that we're back to being great. To which I would say, what point in time was that? At what point in time has America delivered on its promise? you know there's language in our founding documents that says, and I'm just going to use the three words that matter: more perfect union, right? More perfect union. What that means when you write that, to form a more perfect union, is that it's not perfect. That's what that means. The founders, the people that people are like, oh, they're so great, even though they were horrifying racists and bad people in general. They Those founders that were intelligent enough to understand what they were doing, uh, put in the language more perfect union. It was not a finished project. It was not what it could be. It doesn't take much to understand that. Now, to understand where we go from there, you just look at those horrifying founders and you look at all the people that came after them, the people that were in power, the people that were making decisions, and you start to understand that at no point has America ever lived up to the promise that they wrote down on those pages, right? Like, we've never been that country ever once, not even for a minute. Historically speaking, we have never been a great country. Historically speaking, we are the empire. We are the villains in most fucking stories. And so, while I get that people don't necessarily have context for that, they don't understand that they've been fed propaganda. At some point, there needs to be, if anything's going to change in this country, there needs to be a point where people are willing to look at the country critically, these people that write these things, that make these videos, work 12, 14, 16 hours a day only to come home and not be able to afford food. Right now, that's America. That's the story of America. That's America being great again. Is they don't have the ability to take their kids to the doctor. They don't have the ability to go to the dentist. They don't have the ability to get the glasses that they desperately need. They suffer every goddamn day and they work their ass off doing it, and then they beat their fucking chest and they talk about how great America is. This is a form of induced delusion that I don't really know how we fight it. I don't really know how we wake people up. If you are willing to smile and praise the person with the whip, then you will get whipped. You will get your lashes. And I know that that may be a strong analogy for people, but the reality is that if you're showing up and working for 14 to 16 hours a day, barely sleeping, and still can't afford a decent place to live and food on the table, then what are you if not a slave? What are you if not, at the very least, an indentured servant? That's all we have become in this country. And it started with that early indoctrination about how great America is. Instead of being able to look at it and say, the idea, the idea of what this country was supposed to be or could be or what we were aiming for was great. Yesterday I quoted Thurgood Marshall, and that's what he said too, is you set your sights on something that you know is unattainable, but you still keep trying to get there. You still keep fighting and clawing and scratching to get there. You know you're never going to reach it, but you still try. And that's the whole point. Like, we cannot settle and say that this country is as good as it's going to be. And if you don't like it, then like, you can't do that. That's not being patriotic. That's being a fucking drone. You're not thinking. You want to be patriotic? You want to love this country? Then you look at its problems. You try to address the problems. You look at people like the current administration and you understand it doesn't matter which fucking team they're playing for. It doesn't matter that you've signed on with the big fucking red R. It doesn't matter. Is it making your life better? Has it made your life better? And you have to understand how it works. You have to actually take the time to read and learn and understand that a lot of the things that make you so fucking miserable today were put there by the people that you prop up and you call them great leader. If you can't understand that, I don't have a lot of hope and faith in what this country can do going forward, because I don't think that there are enough people that take the time to truly understand that if you love something, you don't have to see it as perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. You love the imperfections and you work to try to make it better. You work with a person to make them the best version of themselves. They work with you to do the same for you. You have to be willing to see the flaws. This works at every level of anything. If you love it with its flaws. And then you say, let's make it better. Let's get better. Let's be better. Let's not have people needlessly suffering. People are always going to suffer. People are always going to suffer. Needless suffering. Suffering put on by the state, by the regime, by the government, however you want to put it. Needless suffering. We don't address that, our country is doomed. I want to have a message that's uplifting for the 4th of July, and I'm really trying to work towards it. But when I see things like that, and I recognize that there is a large portion of people that really do believe that kind of message, well, you don't get to celebrate freedom because you spoke out against it, there's so many of them. Millions and millions of them. And it's hard. It's hard to be optimistic when you know that you can't even address flaws or shortcomings without somebody thumping their chest and saying, America, get out of there. You don't like it. I don't know. I'm not feeling it. Maybe something will happen today that'll spur me towards feeling a little bit more patriotic. Anyway, take care of yourself, everybody, and take care of others. I'll talk to you soon.